Looks like one more uneventful day behind the wheel, right? A great opportunity to kick back and relax, listen to your favorite music, or daydream about your next vacation. Right. Welcome to the real world, where letting your guard down behind a 40-ton vehicle can cause a nice uneventful day to turn deadly in a hurry. Anyone who drives for a living knows that sometimes it's the most routine situations that go bad the quickest. Good thing this driver was on his toes. Maybe you've noticed, while they're probably good people, there are an awful lot of drivers out there who just aren't very good. Some don't pay attention like they should. Some act out their aggressions behind the wheel. And some of them, well, you have to wonder how they passed their driver's test in the first place. The hard truth is, you have to share the road with these folks. And since you know most of them aren't looking out for you, you'd better keep an eye out for them. Otherwise, you put your safety in their hands. Personally, I'll pass on that, thanks. You know as well as anyone, it's easy to get complacent behind the wheel. Maybe you have a stellar driving record, or you're just lucky enough to have avoided trouble so far. But I'm here to remind you that in an instant, the more lax you are, the less prepared you'll be when hazards crop up. And they will crop up. You know they will. Defensive drivers are alert and in control of their vehicles, their safety cushions, and themselves at all times. No letting your guard down until you're safely off the road. We're going to review the basic tenets of defensive driving: seeing and being seen, having heightened awareness, managing your speed and space, and maybe most important of all, having the right attitude. Then we'll ask how you'd handle some potentially hazardous situations. Maybe you're already a top-notch defensive driver, or maybe not. This is your chance to test what you know and to start to change bad habits before it's too late. Defensive driving starts before you ever hit the road. Unless you want your equipment to fail while you're driving, you need to conduct a pre-trip inspection before every run to make sure you and your vehicle both start out in good operating condition. You should also make a sound trip plan that includes exactly where you're going, the route you'll take, where you're stopping, and when you'll arrive. This can eliminate a lot of uncertainty, so you can focus on driving. The most basic rule of defensive driving is seeing and being seen. No, this isn't driving 101, and yes, I'm sure you know that the more you can see what's going on around you, the better you can avoid any problem situations. But I'll remind you anyway, just in case, because it could save you a lot of grief down the road. Keep your windows and mirrors clean, and adjust your mirrors for the best visibility. As simple as it sounds, not checking mirrors properly is one of the top 5 reasons drivers get into trouble. Even the most experienced drivers forget or get a little complacent sometimes. If you don't use it to your best advantage, how will you be sure you can change lanes to avoid that hazard ahead? Or how can you anticipate what the aggressive driver coming up behind you will do? You can't, period. Plain and simple, you need good mirror use habits to drive defensively. As far as being seen goes, make sure all your lights, turn signals, four-way flashers, and reflectors are clean and in good working order. Even if your vehicle is in plain sight, assume other vehicles, motorists, or cyclists may not see you, because as hard as it might be to imagine, they may not. Maybe your company is one of many that requires its drivers to always run with the lights on, but at the very least, keep your lights on from dusk till dawn and in bad weather. And use your turn signals and four-way flashers in plenty of time for other motorists to react appropriately. Also, don't forget to check the horn before you hit the road. Unfortunately, need it. Of course, it isn't enough just to be able to see well out of your windows and mirrors and to ensure that you're seen. You also have to actively look for trouble. Constantly scan, and I do mean constantly. Immediately in front of your vehicle, 12 to 15 seconds ahead, and to both sides. Look for anything that's a potential hazard. You know the list: distracted or aggressive drivers, pedestrians, road debris, animals, construction zones, accident scenes, anything that might turn into a problem. Some drivers think the scan constantly rule doesn't apply to them. Maybe they let their guard down by fiddling with the radio, looking at a map, or picking up a phone. Sad to say, these are the drivers most likely to be involved in some 400,000 commercial motor vehicle crashes that happen every year. You also need to be aware of what's going on behind your vehicle. Is some driver hell-bent on passing you? You need to know before that driver creates a dangerous situation. When you do see a hazard, you better hope you have a good safety cushion around your rig so you have time to respond. That won't be an issue if you're practicing your best speed and space management skills. Obviously, you should always obey posted speed limits unless traffic or weather conditions demand that you drive slower than the posted limit. It's also important to understand how much stopping distance you'll need based on the present conditions. Under normal driving conditions at highway speed, it could take 6 seconds or the length of 2 football fields to stop a 50-foot vehicle. Is there always 6 seconds of stopping room in front of you? If you're one of those drivers who likes to ride the bumper of the car ahead or ignore posted speed limits, do the rest of us a favor and find another profession. Just don't want the other guy jeopardizing your safety. He doesn't want you jeopardizing his. This is especially true in construction zones where speeding and following too closely are among the top reasons professional drivers end up involved in collisions. Back off and slow down. It's the best formula for safety. You also need to factor some breathing room on either side of your vehicle into your safety cushion, along with adequate clearance above and below. Hitting overhead objects like bridges or overpasses can happen even if posted clearances indicate there's plenty of room. Road conditions, ice and snow, and the weight of your load can all affect clearances. Assume you have 6 inches less space than the posted clearance says. If you're unsure whether you have enough room up there, take another route. And don't forget the space under your vehicle. Be aware of how much clearance you have so you don't get in trouble crossing railroad tracks or on poorly maintained. What about behind your vehicle? If you're being followed too closely, get in the right lane and allow tailgaters to get past you. I'm sure you've heard the expression, attitude is everything, 1,000 times, but it's never more true than when you drive for a living. You can't avoid sharing the road with other motorists, no matter how badly they drive. But if you have the right attitude and follow safe driving rules yourself, at least you can help control the situation. Here's one way to look at it. Think of your fellow motorists as your teammates on the road and yourself as the team leader. It's up to you to know what everyone on your team is doing, how fast they're driving, whether they're distracted, whether they're angry, and then do what you can to make up for their poor performance. With any luck, a few of them might be taking the same approach you are. After all, a lot of them really are good savers. You can also play a mental exercise of what if, often referred to as self-talk. What if the driver talking on the cell phone suddenly changes lanes? What if the driver approaching the intersection from the right doesn't stop? This practice helps you anticipate what other drivers might do, make a plan, and follow through on that plan if it becomes necessary. Don't leave your safety up to someone else. It could be the last thing you ever do. And that wraps up a review of defensive driving basics. Did you pick up a few insights or reminders that might help make you a better defensive driver? We'll have a chance to check that out soon. In the next segment, you'll get to try out the most important of your defensive driving skills. Are you good at being tested? You're probably better at it than you think. As a driver, you need to prove your skills every day in the school of life. By comparison, the challenges you'll face here should be easy. And this isn't the kind of test that determines how good a driver you are, so much as it helps you to become a better driver. Think of it as real-time practice. We're going to show you a series of hazard perception challenge scenarios related specifically to defensive driving. How well can you identify everyday hazards, formulate plans to respond to them, and keep them from turning into emergencies? Pay close attention. There may be several hazards or potential hazards in each scenario. You'll need to quickly determine which is the most imminent threat and what you should do about it. Write down your answers. It may be helpful to you in getting the most out of this session. Are you ready? Then let's start. Good luck. You never know what condition your fellow motorists might be in late at night, so it pays to be prepared for anything. When you see someone doing what this driver's doing, how do you handle it? Do you A, sound your horn to get the driver to pay attention? B, approach the vehicle slowly and carefully pass it? C, get the license number and call 911? Or D, stay a safe distance behind the vehicle? Here's a scenario you'll probably run into more as more Americans jump on the fitness bandwagon. These cyclists are apparently on an organized ride, enjoying the quiet rural roads, and to get past them to finish your run. What should you do? A, see if you can find out what route the bikes are taking and change your own route to avoid them. B, drive slowly past the cyclists in your own lane, sounding your horn to get them to move over as you pass. C, drive slowly past the cyclist, straddling the oncoming traffic lane, and prepare to signal to merge fully into your lane if oncoming traffic appears. Or D, pull over and wait a few hours until they get to wherever they're going. Driving a big vehicle on typical city streets is not for the faint of heart. Any number of hazards may just be waiting to spring themselves on you. There's a potential danger ahead on this street. What is it? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. This challenge probably looks pretty familiar. Based on what you see here, what should you do? A, speed up and change lanes to get in front of the car in the left lane. B, slow down and stay in your own lane, but make it as easy as possible for entering traffic to merge with you. C, slow down and change lanes to get behind the car in the left lane. Or D, sound your horn and gesture to the driver in the left lane to let you move over. Looks like your typical industrial park with nice wide roads. Shouldn't be a problem to back a rig here, right? So what's wrong with what this driver is doing? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Apparently, this driver has something else on his mind besides driving. What would you do in this situation? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Nice day for a drive. Better check in with dispatch. But wait, did you miss anything while you were fiddling with your computer? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Skateboarders love to practice their sport, whether it's on neighborhood streets or a quiet paved lot in the industrial park. When you see a group like this and they don't make room for you to pass, what should you do? Do you A, sound the horn at them until they move? B, yell out your window at them? C, pull to the side and ask them to move over? Or D, call the police? Wonder if that driver ahead knows his back door isn't secured. You definitely don't want to be behind him. Uh-oh. What would you do in this situation? Would you A, slam on your brakes and hit the crate as slowly as possible? B, use emergency braking and steering techniques and pull back behind the truck you were passing? C, use emergency braking and steering techniques and get onto the shoulder? D, keep driving the same speed and hope the crate doesn't contain anything dangerous? In the first scenario, you were driving along the highway at night and saw a motorist weaving slightly and driving slowly. How did you handle it? If you picked C, get the license number and call 911, you're correct. Whether this driver is an older driver who's disoriented or someone who's tired or intoxicated, he's a danger to himself and to other motorists, including you. It's up to the police to decide just how dangerous. There's something else to consider in the scenario. You shouldn't use your while driving. So, in a case like this, be sure to pull safely off the road before making a call. Here's the scenario where you found yourself driving down a rural road and came upon a group of cyclists on an organized ride. How did you decide to get past them? Organized bike tours and rallies are getting more common, but neither motorists nor the cyclists themselves may have a good handle on roadway etiquette in this situation. The best thing to do is A, see if you can find out what route the bikes are taking and change your own route if you can. Usually there are stations set up along the route where bikers can rest and where you can get the information you need. Of course, the problem with rural roads is that you can't always get there from here, and this may be the only route available. If that's the case, your next best option is C, straddle the oncoming traffic lane, driving slowly but faster than the cycle, and match your speed to the cyclists when you need to merge into your own lane. This is usually 15 to 20 miles per hour. Keep safety ever top of mind, and don't forget, these cyclists have rights too. In this scenario, you were driving on a typical city street. Did you correctly identify the danger ahead? If you said it's the car up ahead with its brake lights on, you're right. This driver may have just parked or maybe about to pull out. You have no way of knowing. The fact that the driver appears to be doing something inside the car doesn't help. The person may be on the phone, attending to a child, or packing up a briefcase. In any case, he or she is distracted and may not notice you. So, what should you do when you see those brake lights? Slow down and prepare to stop or evade in case the driver pulls out or opens the door. A simple horn may be all it takes, or it may not. In this situation, the drivers coming up the ramp expect you to move over, but you're trapped by the driver in the left lane. You've probably experienced this hundreds of times. What's the best way to handle it? If you said B, slow down, stay in your own lane, and make it as easy as possible for entering traffic to merge with you, you're doing the right thing. Speeding up or slowing down to change lanes could cause other traffic problems, so it's best just to hang tight and accommodate merging vehicles as best you can. As far as gesturing at the other driver to let you in, that's probably something you want to avoid in most circumstances. It's easy to feel pressured in a situation like you saw here. Those drivers waiting for you to back up won't stay patient forever. But what did this driver forget to do? He didn't look for overhead obstructions. The driver has a few choices. He could back up without checking overhead because he's pretty sure there are no obstructions. He could get out and check for obstructions even though he's holding up traffic. Or he could abort and come back later. But the easiest and safest thing to do is to get out and look overhead. Who knows what might be up there that you can't see from your cab or mirrors? Those waiting motorists might be getting hot under the collar, but taking 30 seconds more of their time is better than backing without knowing all your potential hazards. In this scenario, you have no idea why the motorist is driving so absent-mindedly or what he might do next. Don't let it ruin your day. The driver may be distracted or somehow impaired. There's no way for you to know. It's best to keep. Don't try to pass until you know for sure what the driver's intentions are. In this sequence, you were driving along and decided to check in with dispatch. But while you were focused inside the cab, you missed an important sign, something you'll need to know to avoid trouble ahead. Distractions can pop up from anywhere, but you have control over the ones inside your cab. Check in with dispatch, set your music, make your phone calls, and eat your meals before you hit the road. You encountered some skateboarders in this scenario. How did you decide to handle it when they wouldn't move? Well, if you remember at all what it was like to be that age, you know these guys are just showing off for each other. Problem is, they may do something stupid or dangerous to impress their friends. Remember that skateboarders are people too. If they wouldn't move with a gentle tap on the horn to alert them to your presence, and you're not in danger yourself, pull to the side and tell them they'd be a lot better off if they made room for vehicles to pass. Politely ask them to get off the street and let them know the next truck or bus driver may not be so nice. But if you sense danger or don't think you can resolve the situation yourself, call it in. Even though you hate to turn them in, what they're doing is illegal, as well as a danger to you and themselves. Suddenly confronting cargo in the middle of the highway ahead puts a driver in a tough spot. If this was you driving behind the truck with the open door, you would have backed off the moment you noticed it, right? Instead, this driver has to either B, use emergency braking and steering techniques to get back behind the truck in the right lane, or C, use emergency techniques and get onto the shoulder. If something like this happened, you'd have no idea what was in the crate. It could be an airplane engine for all you know, and it could cause serious injury if you hit it, even at a reduced speed. This is something you never like to see. That driver weaving lane to lane and flashing his lights is a menace, maybe even a potential road rager. The driver in the car next to you seems oblivious though. So, is this your problem? What should you do? A, keep driving the same speed and ignore the upset driver. B, speed up to get past the motorist driving next to you and change lanes so the upset driver can pass on the right. C, slow down enough to let the upset driver get in front of you to pass, or D, slow down and make contact with the upset driver so he settles down. Here's a city scene where heavy traffic is further complicated by construction ahead. It's easy for tempers to flare in a situation like this. And what's with these motorists driving in the lane that's closing? You know they're going to try to merge ahead of you at the last minute. What do you do in a case like this? A, slow down to let them in, even though it might make your blood pressure rise. B, speed up and close any gap with the car in front of you so they can't get in. C, sound your horn to let them know their actions aren't appreciated. Or D, move into the lane that's closing and drive the same speed as traffic in the other lane so no self-serving drivers can get by. Funny how when you're driving along a two-lane road going the speed limit, it's nowhere near fast enough for some people. Wouldn't you like to ask this guy where the fire is? What kind of problem does this driver pose, and what would you do about it? Write down your answers. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Having to make a tight right turn at a controlled intersection on a multi-lane street leaves you open to all kinds of trouble. Like this situation. What's the problem here, and what should you have done to avoid it? Write down your answers. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Ah, summertime. Gotta love it. One thing you can always count on is running into construction ahead. Assuming you're inclined to follow the speed limit in these situations, you can also count on experiencing what this driver's going through. When you do, how do you handle it? Do you A, catch up to the vehicles in front of you? B, slow down to minimize the impact of a crash? C, keep to the posted speed? D, speed up slightly and tap on your brakes to keep the driver behind you off your tail? Here we find ourselves in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Only problem is you've been on the lookout for who knows how many potential hazards. What's the main thing you have to worry about right here and now? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Wow, where did this come from? What should you do now? A, maintain your current speed so you don't cause a pileup behind you. B, pull over to the side of the road and wait it out. C, slow down, put on your four-way flashers and keep driving. D, slow down, put on your four-way flashers and pull off the highway at the first safe opportunity. Is there a more unpredictable creature than a teenager? When you find yourself in a situation like this, what's the best thing to do? Do you A, slow down to let them pass more safely and get a safe distance ahead of you? B, speed up to get a safe distance in front of them? C, ignore them and keep going the same speed? D, make rude gestures back to try to intimidate them or swerve slightly in their direction to give them a good scare? Remember this scenario? I bet you sometimes wish there was a cop around when you see this type of behavior. Lucky for you, the aggressive driver is really upset with the driver next to you. So, it isn't your problem at all, right? Wrong. That angry, aggressive driver probably won't back off until getting what he wants, which is to go faster than the speed you're going. The best thing you can do to defuse the situation is C, slow down enough to let the speedster get into the right lane ahead of you to pass both you and the other driver. The problem with this scenario is that it's hard to let jerks like this get into line. It goes against your sense of fairness. But remember, you're the professional in this situation, and you need to show it. swallow your pride or feelings of aggression. The correct answer is A, slow down and let the offending driver in front of you. Block him may result in a crash. And at the very least, blocking them will only make them cause trouble for someone else, someone who might not be as cool-headed as you. Here's a situation where the speed limit is just too slow for the driver approaching you from behind. What did you say the problem here was, and what would you have done about it? The problem is that the approaching driver is set on passing in the no passing zone, putting his own safety and yours at risk. There's no point trying to control this driver's behavior. If you tried, you'd just get him angry, and that could make the situation worse. Instead, slow down as he starts to pass so the vehicle can get back into the right lane as soon as possible. Obviously, all motorists don't realize how dangerous it is to sneak between you and the curb. With your vehicle, you could drive right over them. That's why the rule of thumb is to keep your back wheels close to the curb when turning, so there's no room for motorists to get in. Also, remember to check mirrors continually before and during the turn. It might have also helped if our truck driver in this scenario had replaced his damaged wide right turn sign with a new one. This is the scenario where you were driving the speed limit in a construction zone. You know there are a lot of impatient, tailgating motorists behind you. What would you do? If you said C, keep to the posted speed or slower if appropriate, you're absolutely right. It's too bad the motorists behind you aren't happy, but that's not your problem. You have to drive your own trip. They should be going the speed limit anyway. It's the safe thing to do, and it is the law. In this piece, you were driving on a suburban street where people will be enjoying the nice day outside. But there was plenty you needed to pay attention to. Did you pick out the main thing? It's the fact that this neighborhood has a blind child living here. Kids are impulsive to begin with, and here you have the added concern of a child who may not see you. Follow your instincts, keep a sharp lookout, and drive very slowly and cautiously at all times. In this scenario, you were faced with a sudden downpour. Other drivers were slowing down and pulling over. What did you decide to do? The answer is D. Slow down, put on your four-way flashers, and pull off the highway at the first safe opportunity. Maintaining your current speed isn't safe, but if you slow down too much or attempt to pull to the shoulder, the danger of a pileup increases. Do not stop on the roadway. Stop, be certain your vehicle is all the way off the road. This scenario covers sharing the highway with a car full of teenagers. What do you think was the best way to approach this? If you said A, slow down to let them pass more safely and get a safe distance ahead of you, you get an A+. Teens can be unpredictable, especially when there's a carload of them goofing off. You just don't know what kind of stunt they might pull. What you do know is that you are the experienced professional, and you need to control the situation. You're safest, and so are they, if you back off and give them as much space as possible. That way, you keep them ahead of you and in your line of sight, so you can continue to avoid them if you need to. Ah, the start of a new day and a new run. Looks like a good day to be out driving. So, what's the problem here? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Whoever planned the merge lanes coming out of busy toll booths apparently never had to drive in them with a CMV. Even motorists who want to do the right thing can get flustered by the lack of rhyme or reason to the traffic. What should your plan be as you exit a toll booth? Do you A, tap your horn as you exit to alert other motorists to your presence? B, slow down to let other motorists in as necessary. C, speed up the lane you're in. Or D, move over to another lane with less traffic. Driving in unfamiliar territory can be tricky. You never know which side your exit will come up on. So what's the best way to handle this scenario? Do you A, get out the map and look at which way you'll need to exit? B, get in the right lane since that is most likely where the exit ramp will be? C, stay in the center lane in case you'll need to exit left? D, call a friend who drives this route and ask him. Just when you think your day's drive is going pretty well, something like this. Maybe there's construction up ahead, or maybe an accident scene. Who knows how long you might sit here? So what do you do about it? A, get on the CB and ask drivers up ahead what's going on. B, put in a cassette and sit back for a long wait. C, stay alert and increase your safety cushion. D, take the next exit and find an alternative route. Many drivers enjoy the serenity of a rural route, but country roads have their own hazards. What should you be looking for on this road? Write down your answer. Multiple choice answers to choose from will not be provided. Another busy day in the city. Looks like you'll need to move over, but the car coming up on the right is going to make that a challenge. What should you do? Do you A, honk your horn to make the other driver slow down and let you in? B, accelerate to try to get ahead of the car and switch lanes at the last minute? C, stop and wait for a clear chance to move over? D, signal your intention to change lanes, slow down, and wait for clearance? Crossing multiple lanes in a short distance is never fun, and sometimes it's downright frightening. What's the best way to get from the far left lane to the far right lane in this situation? Do you A, your horn, tap your brakes, and use your turn signal? B, turn on your signal, speed up slightly, and gradually pull over? C, turn on your signal, hit your brakes, and pull over as soon as you see an opening? D, turn on your signal, adjust your speed, and allow time to change lanes? In this scenario, the driver appears to be getting ready to start a trip. He's getting into the vehicle and looking things over, but he hasn't done a complete inspection, not even close. This guy didn't even use 3 points of contact getting into his vehicle. The point is, professional drivers should always conduct a thorough pre-trip inspection to minimize the chance of a breakdown on the road, or otherwise becoming a danger to yourself and others. The problem with this scenario is that there are no clear rules for exiting a busy toll booth. It's often chaotic. Other drivers are doing their best to find their lanes again, but can be confused and flustered. So what do you do when other motorists either don't see you or expect you to back off? Don't be part of the problem. The correct response is B, slow down to let other motorists in as necessary. They're most likely confused, so tapping your horn will probably just fluster them further, and speeding up or moving over could complicate the situation even more. In this scenario, you were faced with multiple highways converging, and you didn't know which side the exit would be for the road you need. This one should have been an easy answer for you. Even though most highways veer off to the right, they all don't, especially in cities. It's best to stay in the center lane and pay close attention to road signs until you know whether you'll be going right or left. Using a map or cell phone in this situation is more than a little risky with the amount of traffic on this highway. You ran into an unexpected traffic slowdown in this scenario. It's an annoyance for sure. It's also a prime opportunity for a crash. So, what would you do in a situation like this? The correct move is C. Stay alert and increase your safety cushion. Even though you may be tempted to find out what's going on ahead, you could make the situation worse by fiddling with your CB, your cell phone. You may ultimately decide to find an alternate route if the situation doesn't improve. You were enjoying a drive along a rural road in this scenario. What was the potential hazard here? Did you see the deer crossing sign? You don't necessarily have to slow down in areas heavily populated with deer, but you do need to be extra cautious and watch the sides of the road. And remember, deer don't travel only where the signs are, and they often don't travel alone. If you see one, more will likely follow. If you do see an animal and can't safely stop, it's better to hit the animal than to put your own safety or the safety of other drivers in jeopardy. And by the way, a general note of caution, always make sure you have a firm two-handed grip on the steering wheel. How about the lane ending in this scenario? What did you think was the best way to handle it? Assuming the person saw the lane ending sign, his behavior is pretty rude. But who knows what's got this driver's attention? Even if patience isn't your best virtue, you'll have to find some in this situation. The correct answer is D. Signal your intention to change lanes, slow down, and wait for clearance. If you move over too fast, you'll cut off, or even worse, run into another vehicle coming up. In this scenario, you had to cross multiple lanes of traffic to get to where you need to be. How did you handle it? With vehicles crossing back and forth, it's hard to get control of the situation. To gain as much control as possible, give other motorists notice of your intentions and keep a close eye on what they're doing. Clear communication on your part is of utmost importance here. To actually make the lane change, the correct answer is D. Turn on your signal, adjust your speed, and allow time to change lanes. So, how'd you do? Did you make it home safely from this virtual run? No incidents, no collisions? Of course, it's one thing to watch and respond to scenarios in a video, and another to practice defensive driving in real life. If you missed a hazard here, well, you might feel a little sheepish. But if you miss one out there, sheepish isn't even in the same ballpark as what you're going to feel. Who knows what might happen? One thing's for sure, you can't depend on other motorists to have the same level of driving skills that you do. If you want to stay safe on the road and make the road a safer place for all the people who share it with you, it's up to you to make it happen. Apply what you've learned today, every day leading up to today, and every day from here on out. Stay alert at all times and follow the rules of defensive driving. See and be seen, and use your mirrors properly and frequently. Have a heightened awareness of potential by continuously scanning 12 to 15 seconds ahead, to both sides and behind your vehicle. Manage your speed and space, and don't go faster than the posted speed limit or conditions allow. Do leave plenty of safety cushion ahead, behind, above, and to both sides of your vehicle. And finally, have the right attitude. You are in control of your own safety and the safety of those around you. On the road, be a leader by example. You may not be able to relax out there, but if you keep an eye on what's going on around you and know how to react, at least you'll have peace of mind knowing that you're prepared for whatever comes your way. And the people you care about most and who care about you will have the comfort of knowing you'll make it home safely. That's what defensive driving is really all about.